Howdy everyone, Nimby here. Today we're going to be tying up some Royal Coachman, which is my favorite fly. And it's my birthday today. So I'm going to tie for a couple hours and tie up my whole whack of my favorite fly to tie. Just going to make a thread base all the way back to the just right before the barb, right on top of it. Yep, that'll do. And 2 wraps back to secure it. And today we're going to be using Uni 8/0 in black. It's your standard smaller uni. You can use a 6, perfectly fine, as long as you're mindful of the head size and whatnot. The 6 will actually help you a little bit, typically with quill wings, not slicing through them. But you can get by with 8 perfectly fine too. Hey Glacier Shark, how's it going today, mate? These guys might be a little big. Let's go with a smaller one here. So I'm using for the hook that we're using, it's a, oh my, a 10? Yeah, I'm actually going to be using some vintage Mustang size 10 from Norway. Treating myself today because it's my birthday. So I'm going to use some of my old heritage stock hooks. I woke up a while ago, but I've just been kind of puttering around here. Just been puttering around with materials and stuff. I woke up a couple hours ago. I was gonna start streaming a few hours ago, but just playing around with all my junk and realized like an hour or 2 went by. Hey, Gamby. Yeah, I wish I was 21. No, I don't. Yeah, they're cool. I love old vintage hooks. Especially Mustang. I grew up tying on those and fishing with them, and yeah, Stream Elements bot. I will customize you at some point when I get to it. Just taking the fluff off of here. There we go. This one's a little bit lopsided, but we're gonna make her work. Because I pulled her off and she looks to be right about the right size. Yep. $182 a box now? How many you get in a box though? 100, I'm assuming? No, that wouldn't make sense. Oh, maybe. It's like $2 a hook. Kinda. That's still pretty crazy. Yeah, there's lots of good info on this fly, not off the top of my head. It's a very classic, Very, very classic. It's on the front of like most fly tying books. Being that classic. I'm not actually being that classic. I'm not sure off the top of my head who the original tire was. Yeah, everything's like doubled, if not more, unfortunately. Hey, so we're gonna grab about that many fronds. I'm trying to remember the story off the top of my head. It's a Royal Coachman. I'm trying to remember the story off the top of my head. There is actually a really good story that goes with this fly. What was it now? I think it was around New York, if I remember off the top of my head, where they came up with this fly. One of the fly tying or fly fishing clubs, and he tied it up, and then they wanted him to retie it, and he added the red band in the middle. And they said that it looked so over the top that he should make it royal, so they called it the Royal Coachman. I'm normally pretty good with my history stuff, but for whatever reason my mind's drawing a blank for the name and the date and everything. Just silly, because I know I've said this on here probably a good dozen times or so now. But yeah, it was some guy in New York, around New York. I'm gonna tie this in. I like to make sure that the second black notch. Like I said, I cannot for the life of me recall who the tire was. I don't think it was. Oh, no, I don't. I want to say it was a doctor, and I don't think it was Wolf. I'm gonna have to look this up now. I'm really surprised I can't just pull that off the top of my head, because I'm sure I've given this spiel dozens of times on here, because I've tied this fly many, many times. I normally give my little historical spiel. I don't want to mess up all my streaming stuff, so I'm not going to look it up right at the moment. I like them to kind of be bunched together a bit like that. Some people like to splay them out a little more. Yeah, that's looking good. I don't really need to build up a body on this at all, but I'm going to tie this in. Tie the waste material. I know a variation of this one was 1878. Wow, okay, that was farther back than my brain was saying. I was thinking like 1919 kind of thing. John Haley. Yeah, I think that is correct. You're right. I'm pretty sure he was a doctor, or he tied it for a doctor. Either he was a doctor or he was tying it for a doctor. I remember that part of the story. Okay, so this pattern, like I said, is classic and one of my favorites. You're going to want to tie the wing in with a good bit of room, so we're going to be tying our wing in about here. And I'm going to do some wet fly style and some dry fly style. some forward, some back. I get kind of a mess of a bunch in there. For the hackle, we're just going to be using this regular red rooster hackle. For the wings, because I'm tying these fairly small, I have white goose quill. These ones are a little bit on the smaller side, and there's a little bit of fronting on the inside of the wing here, where it curls up and gets a little fluffy. So we might not. I'm a little bit concerned with that being it'll split when I try to tie the wing in, but we're gonna give it a shot. If that one doesn't work, I have this set here, which is slightly smaller. I was gonna save these for the size 12 and 14s. I want to do some smaller ones, but I got gobs. I got more than enough quills to go. And this old vintage golden pheasant cape, we'll be getting our golden pheasant tippets from. And also got lots of those. For peacock, I'm actually just using this regular old run-of-the-mill cheapy peacock because it's got a really nice color to it, and I'm surprised actually at the quality of it for just cheap offshore Chinese peacock. But I've been tying with it for a bit, and it's like, you know, this has a real nice iridescence to it. Alright, so we're just going to take 2 fronds here, and we're going to run our thumbnail over it, and it'll break at the most brittle point right there. That way you don't have to worry about where the most brittle point is and tying it in too close to your hook. And I'm just going to trim those off so they're nice and clean. There's 2 or 3 or more maybe, possibly, different styles of tying this in. I'm actually going to bring this up and we'll tie this right across the whole body here. So there's a few different styles of tying this in. You can tie it in once, then tie your floss in, like cutting it off, and then retie it in front of the floss. And the other one is to wrap your butt section, bring it across, and then your forward section, which is what I think I'm going to do with this one. And by doing that, we'll just be wrapping our floss over top of the peacock, which I've never had an issue with, but I mean, fill your boots one way or the other, I don't think it's going to matter none. Just going to fluff this up. Yeah, it has a really nice, I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but it's got a real nice, like, bright iridescence to it that I'm quite happy with. I really feel like that's kind of the quality that the fish pick up on, is that bright iridescence quality. It's not the fluffiest stuff in the world, but it's better than a lot of the peacock I got. I got a lot of peacock. I'm actually going to... I'm just going to throw a hackle plier on this in case I drop it. And I'm going to add just a little bit of a twist to this. Nothing crazy, about 5 turns. That'll just keep the fibers from spreading apart as they're starting to do there. And you want to twist that up clockwise, or counterclockwise, sorry, because you'll untwist it as you're going. If you twist it the other way, you'll over twist it, and the brittle end on this side can snap if that happens. I'm just back wrapping a bit because that first bit of hackle was a little on the thin side. Just want to thicken this up a little bit. You want to break this up into thirds from where my thread is now. That'll do. Get the thread back over there. I'm going to tie it off here, but then we're just going to skip over tie it off here again. And we don't need to wrap there, we're just going to be moving it forward. And that's the part where you can change up how you tie this one. If you don't want to skip over like that, you can just cut it off and tie it back in after. So I'm just going to leave this in my material clip here. It'll go in. There we go. And I'll tie in the floss. For the floss, we're going to be using Unifloss, single ply red. A lot of times you'll find this in a 3-ply or 4-ply. They drive me nuts, so I try to find the single ply. The 4-plies, although there's nothing wrong with them, they work perfectly fine. Just as you're wrapping them and as you're using them, they typically, if they fray or come apart, can be a lot more unwieldy to deal with 3 or 4. The benefit is you can strip them out easier if you want a thinner piece or something, which you can't do as easily with the single strand. Okay, so I'm just going to cut the end off here since we got a bit of a fray going on. Get a nice fresh tie-in. I guess before I started, I probably should have refreshed myself on all the history of this fly. I just take it for granted now because I've done so many of them. But the reference, let's try that again here. The reference book I have on my desk surprisingly doesn't have that fly in it, and I was gonna pop the page open. It just has a variation of the fly, which is the, really, come on now. One second, I got a little bit of spin in my thread I'm just gonna get out. It'll behave itself, there we go. So one of the most important things when you're tying in floss, yeah, and I just messed that up. You can see I got a few, I'm not sure if they'll show up on the camera, probably not. I get my black shirt. Nope, doesn't matter, it slipped out. Most important thing with the floss is that you want to get all the fibers tied in. If you tie it too close to the end and you miss a few fibers, they're going to fray all the way back and just cause you no end of trouble. So, you tie it in actually a fair ways up. So you want to get a nice clean cut at the end of your floss before you start tying in. And then just pulling it back, and all those little annoying fibers should play ball and lay down nice for you. There you go. Let's get a few wraps, tie that in. The main reason most people don't do this style, and I'll probably do both, is as you can see I have to pass my bobbin over, so it gets really annoying if you're doing a bunch of them. If we're only doing a couple, this method works perfectly fine. Some people will even cut their thread off, switch to a red or white thread here, so that the black doesn't bleed through underneath. I found after a couple wraps, if you have a decent like single strand floss like this, I haven't really had any problems with it bleeding through or anything. Just gonna twist my floss a little bit. Get rid of the fuzz. And we're gonna tie that in here. That'll make the super classic red stripe in the middle. I'm gonna do one direction, skipping wrap on the way back, and then back to my thread tie-in again here. That'll give us more than enough coverage so it doesn't bleed through. Hey Victoria, good to have you in. Doing a Royal Coachman's today. One of my favorite flies. Super classic. Fun to tie, they look good. The best part is they work amazingly well, especially for brook trout, creek fishing. One of the first flies I ever got a fish on. Probably why it has more sentimental value to me. You can generally get away with one length of peacock for the most part. It is 7:30 right now. I started the stream a bit late because I just wanted to relax this morning and didn't really have anything pressing going on. I was planning on starting the stream at 4:30 this morning. Just thinking if I should tie in. On the next one, I'm actually going to tie in the wing first, because it can be a bit of a pain to tie it in after this point. But we're already at this point. Why are you separating so much, buddy? Come on now. Again, I'm going to add a bit more twist into this to stop it from doing that. We'll back it up a turn. Yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have. Just wasn't really thinking. I was getting ahead of myself. Normally, I'll tie the tail in and then tie the wing in, and then I'll do this part. The downside of doing it that way is you have to be careful of your wing, because if you bang it, you can separate it pretty easily. But the upside is you got more room to tie the wing in, and getting the wing centered and standing it right and the right length and everything can be a little more difficult than not bumping it. So kind of pick your poison. There you go, that's classic Royal Coachman body. Okay, and after the wings, you need to have a matched pair. These aren't officially matched pair from left and right wing from the same bird or anything. They're just close enough to be a matched pair. You can see that they're the stem is curving about the same pattern. They're roughly the same width for the main working part that we're going to be using. So as long as those two things are close, it doesn't need to be from the same bird or the same wing. As long as they're close enough, they'll match up good enough for you. Bird I normally have trouble with in this section is not being stingy and getting enough of this feather off. If you use it too close to the bottom, it's going to be too wispy, it'll separate on you. It can be a bit deceiving. Like, this looks like it's together, but if you start pulling at the fronds a little bit, I'm betting that these bottom ones, here I'll get my bodkin. These bottom fronds, when I tie it in, you can see they're a little more wispy on the top. Hope that's coming through on the camera. And I'll do this direction. See those little hair-like wisps there? If you use that section, oh there we go. Hopefully that's showing. If you use the ones with those little hairs on it, just that first little section, even though it's tempting because it looks fine, it'll just come apart on you. So the best thing to do is to just remove that. Just gonna poke through at the bodkin. There you go. Maybe you can see it better now that I got it separated out. You can see those little fine hairs on the end there. So you gotta make sure you get enough of that off and toss it. Okay, there's a couple ways you can do this. Which one am I doing here? This side, okay. And the wispy spots on this one seem to go up. This would have been a better example. But you can see on the bottom here, the wisps, they go up quite a bit higher on this one. There, they kind of stop right about there. Ideally, you'd want to have the two of them kind of working at the same point. But yeah, there you can see these little wispy ends. Even though when they're together on the feather, they look fine. But if you leave those on and try and make a wing out of them, it'll almost tie in like deer hair. It'll all separate. So just remove those. That's where we can start making our quill wings from. Oh, there's still a few there. Alright. Get rid of you too then. So I'll get one or two less wings out of this because this side is going to be shorter than the other. That's good. So there's a couple ways you can size your wings. The easiest one is to use a hook. Second one is use your bodkin and just eyeball it and push the bodkin through, pull it out. You can also use, if you want to be accurate, you can use a draftsman's tool. I'll use that now just to demonstrate. But basically all you're trying to do is you're trying to get the wing to be a gap height. So we're going to use a tool. Yeah, it should work how I got it. We'll find out shortly. Okay. So let's get that to the gap height. There. Oh, you're gonna get some, don't worry. You want some with beads, like a wet fly style? Yeah, I can do like a soft tackle wet fly one, sure. I was gonna do some up after I do the dry flies. So yeah, so this way when you're using this to cut the feather quill out, you can make sure that they're always the same size. If you don't have one of these, I mean, you can use your scissors and just keep them out at the same length. Again, you can just have your scissors, pop them in there. So you got the gap height. You want gold or silver? Or you get a preference? I can do you up a couple of each actually, it don't matter. Probably look nice with either one. You want them weighted? Gold? Okay. You want them weighted like brass then? I don't think I have gold and tungsten. Tungsten's probably going to be a little heavy for these things, to be honest. So the other and the easiest way, and generally the way that I do with most of these, is just to grab... That's a good question. I should. I'll have to dig through my beads and see. I should have copper. I know I have some like really nice, it's almost like this color, or it's like a, not copper, but like a antique bronze kind of color. That's really nice. Now I have those. So the easiest way to do it, if you don't have those things, and or you're just tying, the benefit of this is you get it the same every time. So you use your hook, like that, bring it up, poke it through, and then bring it up. Did I lose it there? Oh, got it. Normally the end will just slip out like that. So, if you're doing that on both feathers, what you're going to do here, then both your wings will be exactly the same size. And it'll also be sized perfectly for the fly, because you're using the same hook that you're tying the fly on. So you can bring it up. Just make sure you're getting it flat. That one actually went a hair wider on me, but that's good. You get the idea. Yeah, that way you don't have to think about it, and your wings are always going to be the same size. And you're always going to have a hook lying around, so that's the easiest one for most people when they're learning to do. Yeah, I need to get at my tea before it gets cold here too, thanks for the reminder. Nice Earl Grey this morning. Wife got some nice heavy cream too that I tossed in there. Okay, the other tip, you want to separate your quill like this. And this part I struggled with for a long time. Came up with this tip. So the hardest part of this whole thing is, in my opinion, when you're prepping these, is cutting this off without dropping either the feather or the part that you just cut off. So you want to take your two fingers, and you see there's a separation there. I'm going to be pinching, holding both sides of that separation, like that. So now I got the part I'm cutting off, and the quill held in my fingers. And what I'm going to be doing is bringing this up, so the quill is going to go in between my hand and the scissors here. So that way, even if I'm using a long feather or I'm all the way at the tip of a feather, I can still get all the way up. And I'm going to be bringing the scissors in, and I'm just going to cut, and I'm going to try and end it kind of where the tips are, where that separates, but you'll feel it. It's kind of hard to describe, but you'll feel the less resistance when you get to that little point there. Now I got both of these held in, so I'm not dropping either one. I can come in and pull the quill out and set it aside. But that irritated me for a good long time, trying to find a way to cut those off without having them fly everywhere, or drop them on my desk, or throw them in my trash can. You name it. So that is the easiest way I found to cut them off. And you can do it relatively quickly, and every feather, doesn't matter on the size or anything, it works. So separate it, pinch it so you're pinching both. Bring your scissors up. And cut all the way up. And put your feather side. And it doesn't matter if the one side is like this one here. I readjusted my scissors mid-cut, and you can see it got a little jagged. That don't matter whatsoever, because you're cutting that part off. The part that matters is that you don't move or bung up that side of the quill. You want to keep that as smooth and nice as you can. So there's a number of different styles of tying these in. None of them are, it's all personal preference. So you can tie it tip up, that would be more wet fly style. You can tie it tip down, like that. A lot of people, if you're tying it tip down, they're going to push it out back so it'll come up to the tail. You can tie it tip forward, standing up, and you can tie it tip back, standing up. There's some slight guidance on that, whether it's going to be like a wet fly or dry fly. I actually didn't put much thought into. Let's see what I tied these last time. I do these tip up. I think I did them tip forward up last time. But since Shark's actually wanting a wet fly style one, why don't we do that? Because I forgot to tie the wings in anyway. And we'll give Shark a nice wet fly style. Got any preferences with wing style there? Getting these to lay together can be a bit of a pain sometimes. I haven't really found a catch-all solution for that, to be honest. It's just kind of a fussy process. Oh, I had it and then I bumped it. 1 second. I'll get a little better and faster at these after I get a half dozen or so under my belt. Haven't done quill wings in, well, it's been a few weeks anyway, a couple, maybe about a month. So I'm feeling like I want this to be kind of like right about there. I like a bigger wing. So if you're tying it in, you want to get where you want to go and then move it back about a bodkin width. Because as you tie this down, it's going to get sucked up. So get it right where you want it. Move it back about a bodkin width. Got this one strand up top here. That's driving me nuts, so we're just going to pop that off. I don't know why it wants to not join the party, but it doesn't want to join the party. There we go. Okay, I don't think I had a good enough thread base there, so just give me a second, let's build that up. You want to have, the two most important things is your thread placement when you're pulling it down, putting tension on it, and that you have a thread base that is fairly consistent underneath. If your thread base is on an angle and tapered too much, when you go to put pressure on it, your thread can slip forward and it'll just muck your wings all up. And it doesn't need to be very big, like this is probably twice the size I really need it. What I want is that thread base I'm going to be torquing down on. I want it to be robust, but I also want it to be flat. Alright, so we're going to pull some thread out. We're going to make a loop, bring it up between our thumb and our other finger, so we have a loose loop. You can see there's no tension on it. And we want to make sure that our thread's coming back down the same point where we left off, so that they're lined up. If your threads are like this and they're off kilter, hey, thank you, appreciate it. Bill's in the house. Yeah, so you want to make sure they're lined up, and then you just gotta commit to it. You want to keep even pressure, not so much that you're crushing it, but you want to keep them guided straight down. So your pressure between each finger is really important, and when you pull down, if you got everything lined up properly, it'll just do its thing. But it does take practice and just willingness to just do it. Yeah, I was off by maybe half a mil there, so it probably twisted towards you guys just a hair. There. Bottom wing split just a bit. But, oh, bugger. Alright. Well, that fell in my trash, so I can't get that back. I'm not sure if that was a fault in the... That kind of broke at a weird point. It didn't break at my thread tie, and it broke just a hair back. Just too bad, because that other wing actually looks really good. There must have been a defect in the quill that I didn't notice. Okay, let's grab another one. That's really too bad, because that other one looks really nice. Oh, there's that bong hit song again. That was funny the other day, actually. Okay, I'm gonna put this one aside and we'll cut a new one. It didn't split where my thread. Sometimes if you put too much tension down, especially with A-dot, it'll just cut it, just kind of like deer hair. But it actually broke like a good ways up from where my thread tie-in was. So it must have been a fault in the feather quill, which you do get. Like, they preen themselves, they do all sorts of stuff. Just give me a second here, I'll be right with you guys. There we go. Probably instructing more than I'm tying, and that's causing me to drop out here. But I'll try that again. I'm going to cut 2 new ones. Got lots of feathers, so I'm not worried about it. So, just going to measure it out. Separate a bit. Now this one, you might be able to see it there. You can see that slight thinner spot in the middle. That's another damage from preening when they're cleaning their feathers. Their beak ran through that and broke all the barbs. So that might have been what our problem was last time, but I didn't see that on the other feather. But we're gonna go with this one and just see if it'll hold together. A lot of times, actually, if you're seeing that kind of damage, like that little, you can see that thin line in the middle there. If you're seeing that kind of damage, just you can move up or down so that that's kind of on the edge that you're separating, and then you can avoid that. I'm going to do the not so smart thing and ignore it. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Probably should have cut a bunch of these ahead of time. That's a nice quill though. I like that one. So we'll see if that middle part holds on for us. This one here, you can see it's the same thing. There's a couple preening marks in there. I'm not sure if the camera will pick them up. You can see them right there. Yeah, almost every feather's gonna have a couple. And generally they don't really cause you any trouble, but it's good to know they're there. There's another one. It's 2 beautiful slips actually. These aren't by any means like my high quality goose quills or anything. They're exceedingly cheap, but they don't have to be, so. No, well, it's hard to show on camera, but what I'm trying to do is match up the tip of the feather with the other tip, like the pointy bit, because I can maneuver them on this side, and that's where they're going to split. So you line the tips up and kind of pin them down. Generally about 80% of your lining up work will be done for you. There, that actually lined up better than I thought it was going to. That was really good. Normally that can be a real pain to get them to sit together. Oh, and I say that and then I budge them over. Come on, buddy. Let's try that again. I had it nearly perfect, then I bumped it. Yeah, if you line the tip up, sorry, I was just trying to line these up so I can hopefully show you guys. I know the camera's at the wrong angle, but I'm hoping they'll stay in there without sliding out if I can get this on an angle here. So if you line up the two tips like that, then it helps you angle them together. If you try and line up the bases, the tips almost never line up. So I need to actually set up my webcam as like an overhead view. I think that would work well. And I could have like an overhead camera shot when I'm lining up and messing around with all my materials. Sorry, fussing with these a bit much just because that first set didn't work out for us. There we go. Hi, we got her. So I'm gonna get those lined up where I want them. And we're gonna bring it back just a hair more. About the width of bodkin. And I'm gonna bring the thread straight up, pinch it with my finger. Oh, it's loose. See, it's loose there. Taking all tension off of it. Bring it back down. You want to get it under same point where you were pulling, gonna be pulling up from. And you want to pull straight down and keep the tension on the feathers evenly so it'll slide. So you're not crushing it, but you're holding it in place. That felt really good. Well, I did cut one fiber there. So this time, we did cut a fiber, but it was right at the point where I tied in, you can see. Now, a lot of times if that happens, you can work it back down and just get a pinch wrap on it if it'll behave itself. Maybe. Let's get rid of some of my twist. Nah, it's not gonna happen. That's good. I think we only lost like 2 or 3 fronds there. It's not the end of the world. That's right on the top, so it won't affect the shape of the wing at all. There we go. Yeah, you're always going to get a little bit of damage here and there unless you have some pretty high quality goose feathers. Like I said, these are not them. So, got that tied in all nice. That's a nice shape. I like that. I really like that. The V right to the butt and then the tail out. I'm really happy with the way that laid. And I'll just spin it for you guys. You can see you want to have it straight on top like that. That's probably the most, the hardest part, takes the most practice, is getting it on there straight. And that's almost kind of 100% to do with the way your tension is on your fingers when you're bringing it down. Alright, well, this end's a little stubby. If you can leave your quills like quite a bit longer, it'll be a lot easier on you, especially when you're learning. And when you cut them off, you want to cut them off on an angle. Kind of when you're tying in like a stub of deer hair, you want to be able to go in between the fronds, or it'll just keep sliding forward, sliding forward, sliding forward. I'm just gonna gently bring that back. You need to get more than one coffee in there. Yeah, thanks for reminding me about my tea too. Yeah, I'll do this up kind of, if I can manage to get the hackle to... Oh really? You do fishing rods too? I've done that before. It's awesome. A lot of fun. If not messy. With the... what do you call it? Epoxy. They probably got all... Might be easier to find a blank than get a good fly rod. Then you can customize it, and I like it when you can put your, you know, you can name the rod and write it all on the blank. Okay. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I can still use this. Let's see what I got here. Still gonna use the dry fly hackle, but like you said, we'll tie it back. I'll use some of this wispier bottom, and then we'll tie it back and make a wet fly out of it. Even though I generally tie most of these in a dry fly style, I almost always fish them wet fly in creeks and that sort of thing. That little white shuck of a wing just seems to drive them nuts. Okay, I'm gonna cut off the rachis there. Then we're gonna cut a couple fibers on either side. About 3 or 4 on each side. That'll leave us with a step. Should be coming up on the camera there. You can see that a couple fronds sticking out on either side. It almost acts like Velcro. It helps to stop your thread from pulling it out, or pulling the hackle out. Don't need to do that on every fly. These kind it helps though, because you don't have a lot of room on the head. I'm gonna tie this in, and I'm gonna try and I have a little bit of a steep head bank here that I'm gonna be fighting against. But I don't want to have the head built up too much either. We'll try and get 3 or 4 wraps on there, and then we'll use our thread head to pin it back. So I'm kind of switching game plans mid-fly here. Wasn't planning on doing this one wet fly style, but normally if I was doing that, I would have this back. Maybe a bodkin width back more. So when I'm tying it in, I have room to build the head in front. Thanks. Yeah, this is my all-time favorite fly. I think I'm actually gonna go under. Yeah, we'll start with under and see how we do. I'm gonna try and bring this right up. It's gonna look all dry fly-y, but we're gonna bind the hackle backwards as we're doing our head. Hopefully that'll give us the look we're going for. We'll fish all the same anyway. But yeah, you can see how the angle I got my bump on the wing bud there. I could fix that by building it up more here, but I don't want to have it too thick on that side either. So we're just going to go with it. My head we should be able to compensate for it once we get this tied in. We'll see how right I am. And get a hackle plier in there, I totally forgot. Just in case I drop this. Okay, there we go. That'll work. So I am doing the fronds. Normally I'd tie this in, hackle in the other direction. With the tip first. Or I'd pull off a lot more of those fronds. But I want the softer fibers at the base of the hackle. So it'll let me tie it in as a wet fly and bend it back. At least that's the theory anyway. We'll see how if that ends up working for us. two fibers there that are just being little toots. There we go. Alright, got her. Alright. Does take a little practice to do this part. If you hold your thread straight up and down where your wings are, kind of use it as a guide for your finger so you don't put too much tension and muck your wing up that you just spent all that time tying in. Try that again. Just one or two. You want to kind of go back and down a bit. Yeah, that's starting to shape. Okay, good deal. Yeah, this should work okay. Yeah, I just feel like if I was to make that, to fix that thread lump up there earlier, the head would have been too bulbous and too much of an angle. The thread would have skipped off. One wrap a little too farther. There we go. There. Now the forward fronds should be pushing back the, oh, got one more wrap a little too far there. Trying to be accurate with this one because we don't have a lot of wiggle room for the head there. That's a little better. I'd clip that off and clean that up. I think I'd get another fly out of what's left of this hackle here too, actually. I'll build the thread, the head back now. See, now the head's the thickness I want it. We'll still get a few more wraps on there as we're pinning this back, but there we go. Sorry, I just gonna have to fuss with this for a second. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Hey Robert, good to have you in, mate. Just doing some Royal Coachman today. I'm gonna do a bunch of different styles and whatnot. No worries. Good to have you stop in, mate. Good luck with all your chores today. Yeah, for sure. You know where to find me. Okay. Yeah, that's probably about as good as we're gonna get. I'll have to get some of my softer wet fly hackle for some of the other ones, I guess. That didn't turn out horrible though, but it's still a little on the stiff side. Yeah, later, Valhalla. Have a good day. We're just gonna finish this off with a whip finish. And I'll toss that one in as I completely mess up the whip finish. 1 second. Let's do that again. I slipped right off the end. This one hackle fiber is just getting in my way. Alright. Where'd my rosin go? There it is. Yeah, in hindsight, I'm just gonna throw a little bit of rosin on there. Just a whiff. Don't need you sliding around. Come on, hackle, behave yourself. There we go. Yeah, the nice thing about the... Yeah, mine don't seem to be either. Alright, well, we got her done. So I went with the longer hackle. This Glacier Shark wanted it more of like wet fly style. We kind of jumped to that halfway through making the fly, but I think we got her good. I have some more tea. Oh. Yeah, these will start looking better after I got a half dozen or so. Yeah, I'm not sure why my resin decides to walk off as often as it does. I always find it, but it seems to float around my desk. Hey Yoshi, good to have you in, mate. Now, this is an old chunk. I mean, this is from like the 70s. I've had this forever. I mean, I've thousands and thousands of flies with this, and it's still like, it broke, as you can tell. There's another chunk of it about this size. So if you get a chunk of rosin, like, it'll last you your lifetime. Like, it's amazing how long this stuff lasts. You can see all the marks I've made from the thread going in there, but even still. And this one's like really like rock hard. When you get fresh ones, they're still hard, but it's like they're a bit more gummy, for lack of a better way to say it. Okay, so just going to put just a hair dab of Sally Hansen's on there, and then we'll spin it for a minute. Spin it for a minute. It's really easy to go overboard with the lacquer and the head cement on these and get it into the hackle, which is what we're trying to avoid. Yeah, I'm not going to even bother with the bottom. There you go, that's a classic Royal Coachman. Yeah, rosin's, I think I'm one of the few fly tires that actually uses it, to be honest with you. You won't see very many people use it. Rosin is literally, like it says, rosin. So like you'd get from a pine tree or birch tree. Super cheap, you can get it online. It's what a lot of violin players will put on their bowstring to have it stick to the, vibrate the strings properly. So you'll see them rosin up their bow. And there's different types of rosin. There's a golden rosin, it goes all the way from a golden color like honey, all the way up to the black dark stuff like this. I didn't choose the dark stuff, it seems to work perfectly fine. That's just what came in a fly tying kit I had a long time ago. But yeah, the difference between rosin and wax is it doesn't really hold material on. What it does is it adds a lot of grip, just like the violinists would use on their bow. So if your thread's slipping on you or material slipping or moving around, you want it to kind of pin it in place, it acts as like a temporary glue almost. And and I really don't think it would make any difference if you use the honey color. There's a red color which is kind of moderate in between the two, which I think has a little bit more pine resin in it. But it's super cheap. You can get a block of that stuff on Amazon for, I don't know, $10, something like that. I've made my own. I might even actually do that if I get a shop going. I'll produce my own rosin, because I think it's a wonderful fly tying material. I guess it's a material. And you don't see other people using it. I almost never see anyone use rosin anymore. But it's so handy when you have stuff sliding around, you want to pin it down. And the nice thing is with the black rosin or the dark stuff like this is it doesn't stain your thread. If you have the golden stuff, I've had a few, it leaves a little bit of a honey white kind of residue. It'll melt off when you put your head cement on, because the head cement, the acetone on the head cement will melt it. If you're using something like a UV resin though, it will just stay underneath the resin. So there's that to keep in mind. But the darker stuff, it's more of a brown, like once you get it on your thread, like a dark brown. It definitely holds in there better. Alright, that's a pretty cool classic Royal Coachman there. Happy with that one. That'll go into Shark's box. We're gonna do some up for Robert here too. But yeah, happy with that one. Quill wing turned out good. Everything's together. And it's on a vintage, where'd my box go? Vintage Mustang size 10. So these ones are circa 1950, I think. 45, 50, somewhere there. Made in Norway. So, classic fly and classic hook. And I'm gonna add you over here. Get another one going. Yeah, thank you. I'm actually really happy that one turned out well. Tail and the wing are in the right length. So we'll try and do this one a little differently. I'll tie in the wing after I get the tail in. And we'll do a forward-facing wing this time. In a dry fly style, kind of like catskill. Dry fly, I suppose. And we're just going to tie our thread base all the way back, right to where the barb is. Just right in the middle of the barb like that. Then we'll back it up 3 turns. Yeah, hopefully your day's going good, Yoshi. Thanks for dropping in, mate. Hey, Glacier Shark, did you see your fly? I don't know if you got to see it before if you're doing your coffee thing. That's how she turned out. I'm happy with it. Get some more practice and get about half a dozen of these done. I'll get some nicer looking ones. Not that there's anything wrong with that one, but always dropping my material. So for the tail, we're going to be using this golden pheasant. Yeah, that'll be in your box. It's not like 100% wet fly, but close enough. But I'll get some with some of those beads on them for you. I'll have to dig up my bead box, see what I got going on. I'm sure I got stuff that'll work. Sorry, just fighting with this one. The right amount of fronds in there. Well, you guys don't want to separate. Come on now. Oh, I had the tip in there. That'd be why. Okay, hold on. Thin this out a little bit. Eastern Oregon, cool. You know, Oregon's got some pretty classic trout and streams and whatnot. You should be able to have a hoot there, I would think. Okay, that looks about right. You used to live in Oregon, cool. Yeah, I'm assuming you probably got family there then. They like scuds? Okay. Well, I got time. I can throw some scuds in your box. I mean, scuds work almost anywhere. They're probably the most prolific insect next to like dragonflies. There. I had to go a couple fronds thinner. Oh, okay. It would depend on what part of the golden pheasant he's talking about. Obviously, there's a good bit. You got the actual golden part of the golden pheasant, which is right here, and then, oh, it's all good, mate. We all help each other out. I'm gonna be tying them one way or the other, right? And I got the materials already. But in any case, yeah, for golden pheasant, actually I can probably use one of the feathers I already got pulled off here. Kind of the biggest pain with tying these guys, and you can see this side, it's gorgeous. It's got that nice iridescent orange color to it. It's beautiful. It's like a traffic stoplight, you know? And then if you look on the back side, it's like white. All the colors bleached out of it. So the hardest part when you're tying these in is you take off your bit that you have off, so whatever you're sectioning, we're just going to section a little chunk off the top here. So say that's going to be our tail, right? If I tie it in like that, then my other side, on side facing me with fly, is going to look like that, and it's going to be white. So what you want to try and do is take your fingers, you can even wet them a little bit, which helps, and pull it towards you and then pinch. And what you're doing is you're kind of rolling it. Of course, while I'm doing it, it's not going to want to do it. It helps if it's not actually attached to the feather. Obviously, if it's cut off, it will roll a lot better. But yeah, if you roll it like that, then you got the orange on the outside on... One second, can't spin my arm that way. You got the orange on the outside on both sides now, and the light pink on the middle. I'm assuming that's what he's talking about, because otherwise, like tying it in, I mean, the fronds are pretty stiff, so it's easy to tie in. It's not really slick because the point you're tying in down here actually has pretty good barbulars, so it's not, some material's really slippy, almost like a synthetic. Yeah. Yeah, camera shy feather. But I think that's probably what he's referring to, is that sometimes it can be hard to make it look even all the way around. Yeah, the other thing, I'll have to pull one out of here. 1 second. Not for this fly, but I'll just leave it in the bag for the next. No worries. This is the other thing I think he is referring to, which can be a real pain, but it's more of a preparation thing. So these are the golden pheasant fronds here, and they're just like a single hair, but like a group of hairs or fibers together. And what you use those for is like this guy here is you can see right on his tail sticking up there. They're commonly used for salmon flies and other flies. Yeah, that's the feather there. These are a blue, why is my brain going blank on me? Blue something. Blue fly. Can't remember the name of those off the top of my head. But anyway, what'll happen is you obviously want your tail to have that nice taper, right, and that slight upward. I'm just gonna get one out here that's a bit damaged so I can explain it. I can find one. Yeah, and it is. It's mostly preparation. So what a lot of people do is they'll take a skin like this, and they'll pull all these off, or at least the sizes that they're going to be using, and then they'll stick it to and I've done this. Just give me a second to actually get this out here. Come on. There we go. I got more than one. Oh, actually got 3, but that's okay. So I got 3 feathers. So Not a lot there, but you can see the 3 bottom connecting points. So this one here actually isn't that bad. You can see that would tie up fairly well. It's got that nice curve to it, and that's a natural curve from the bird. If you turn it sideways, you can see the curve is pretty even all the way around. It's got a little bit of a lip there. You can see it's pointing in the wrong direction. So what you can do is you can get them wet and stick them to the outside of, say, like a glass cup, margarine container, whatever, doesn't matter. And you can get that. It'll help keep the curve correct. So this is probably what he was talking about. You can see here, it looks like that's a really nice kind of tail curve there, right? But what's actually happening is the direction I would tie it in is like that. So the curve is all cattywampus, going left and right and up and down. So I can get this wet, wrap it around the outside of a glass cup or whatever I got that's the right circumference for the angle I'm looking at. I have a bunch of just kind of petri dish things that I use for that are glass. Glass works well because it sticks to it. And then as it dries, it'll keep that shape and it'll have that nice curve that you're looking for. Yeah, I think that I would assume that's. I mean, I didn't watch that stream, but if I made an assumption, I think that's probably what he ran into, because a lot of people have that issue where they just get, because you buy this in a, if you buy these in a fly shop, you're gonna get them loose like this typically. You won't get them on a skin like this. Sometimes you will, but a lot of times the fly shop will separate the golden ones from the tippets, because they can make, twice the money that way, repackage it, and they're used for different flies. So a lot of times if you're tying with one, you're not necessarily tying with the other. But since they're separated and apart and in a plastic baggie, they end up just, kinked all over the place. And that's how you'd fix them. And it's not hard to do, it's just you gotta kind of pre-plan, right? You gotta decide that's what you want and then go for it. Okay, so this one's going to be a little different style. We're going to do a forward wing that we're going to prop upwards. No, that's fine. And like I said, this is just an explanation in hindsight when I wasn't even there, so I'm just assuming that's what he was talking about, because that's a very common problem. And he was probably just grabbing stuff out of a bag because he's, someone asked him to tie something, or he switched patterns or whatever, or it looked like it was fine until he went to tie it in. So this one here has another one of those preening marks. Let's see if I can point it out. That looks like it's going to give me some trouble. Not sure if my bodkin won't show up on the other side of the feather. So you can see the preening mark right. I think I got it lined up. Let's go down a bit. Yeah, right here. So when the bird's cleaning himself, he'll grab it with his beak and he'll strip. A lot of times they have a sharp spot on their beak and it'll strip off basically the teeth. It's like Velcro, how these stick together, right? And you can see that line there. There's another one up here. So that's probably his beak where he went 1, 2, and then damaged the feather. Ideally, we cut that one out and move up. So since that one's pretty close to the bottom, if you're worried about it, what you can do is just strip that out and start your quill, at that point above. Because this section right here looks nice. I don't see really any damage there. So I don't know. It does look like it's together enough though. I think we're just gonna skip that, but yeah. As we were talking about the preening marks, that's what you want to avoid. If you're learning, I'd suggest avoiding it and just not being too stingy with the feathers, because it can be a real headache for you while you're learning, to have those issues and just have your feather kind of fall apart on you and you don't know what you did wrong. So if you know it's there and it splits after, then you took that chance. The other, and I wish I had a bigger feather to show you guys here, but I don't, and it's not showing up so well on this feather. Is it gonna go? Trying to get the light at the right angle. Maybe I can see it on this one better. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, if I can get the light to... My top light's so bright, I don't think it's gonna... Huh. Okay, no, that's not gonna work. Yeah, it's super important. It's just part, because you're working with a natural product, right? So like there's going to be genetic damage, there's going to be environmental damage, you know, bugs, mites, all sorts of stuff, and the bird itself, you know, coming off a living creature. So every time it falls over, or every time it doesn't land right, you know, it can damage the feather. I wish I had a better feather to explain this. See if I can get it to get the light just right. Maybe right about there. Alright, so there's a line, there's a band, and it has a specific scientific name I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a band that goes about halfway down the flight side of the feather. And you want to be able to tie in on this side of the band, because that's where the thicker rachis is, or the thicker barbriolas are. They're almost twice as thick as on this side of the band. So this side here acts as like the airfoil, so if this is like a like the wing on a plane, this would be where your ailerons and all that stuff are. That's actually adjusting your pitch and all that. So this flutters in the wind, and this is the stiffness that allows the bird to, you know, put pressure against the ear. So you want to tie in on the thicker side of it. If you look at, yeah, I think it's just the way my, there we go. You can see it in the middle there. Yeah, that's true. And it's annoying when you're buying materials at the fly shop. It's annoying when you're buying materials at the fly shop and you can tell it's been damaged because someone wasn't, you know, paying too much attention to bagging or cutting it off or whatever they were doing. Okay, so I'm going to split these. And we are going to keep that damaged piece in just for educational purposes. I don't know. Now, it all depends on how bad it was damaged when the bird preened. Sometimes it doesn't cause you any problems at all, but it's just good to keep an eye out for it so you can tell if that's what splits and where it splits. That's what the problem was. Okay, so same thing, got it split. I'm going to take my scissors up from the bottom, and I'm going to cut to that split mark. Oh, cool. Say hi to your niece for me. And it's good to have somewhere somewhat slippy to put these, so you can slide them around and adjust them. I like this. Literally paid 10 cents from the fly shop. You can make your own. The one I had for years was just made out of a Pepsi can. Metal works good because it doesn't hold static as well. And I'll get the second one off here. There, one sec, just having trouble lining this one up. There we go. Yeah, if you use like a compass, obviously you can get it the same each time. I can see that mark, like, oh, there you go. Now you can see it. Here, one second. I got my lower camera light. I got so many camera lights here. But you can see that line right here. That's what I'm talking about. So as you're moving, depending on your feather, each one of them is a little different depending on where it is on the wing. You might be moving too close to that line because you need to be tying in as far as you can on this side of that line. If you're tying in on that line or anywhere close to it, it'll almost always split the quill when you're going to tie it in. You'll fail almost every time. So it's not super important to keep an eye on it because most of the time you're going to be away from that line. But depending on the size of fly you're tying and the feather you have, you might be really close to it, and it might just be driving you crazy because every time you go to tie one in, it just splits. It goes all over the place. And that can be all sorts of frustrating. Hey, that's a nice one. Happy with that one. So then we take our staging area and we're going to line up the two tips. So just the pointy bit right there with the other pointy bit. There's a left and a right feather too. They're not from the same wing. They are sided. So you want to have your left and your right lined up. If you don't have a left and right feather, just tie one in. Don't try and put two lefts together or what have you. It just won't work well. And your fly will look just fine with just a single feather in. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. A lot of traditionalists will probably be like, oh, you can't do that. It's like, fish ain't gonna know. Even if you're looking at it sideways for a photo or something, I don't even think most people would notice. I will say it is slightly harder to tie in a single quill. That's true. Alright, just excuse me for a second while I fight with these guys. I had it and then I moved it. Like I said, I definitely don't know everything, and I don't know a better way of doing this. This is the best way I've found. It's still finicky. I'm sure there's someone out there that has an answer though. Okay, there we go. And that line I was talking about, you really don't want to do what I'm doing right now, which is switching them around in your hands. It always seems to be when they move on you. But I had them the wrong direction. Whew, got it. Alright. Now stay together. Okay. So I'm gonna try and tie these in like that so they're pointing up. Now the reason I was bringing up that line so much is when you're doing forward facing wings like this, they're generally smaller than your back facing wet fly ones. So the line is more important because I'm going to be tying really close to it. And to get your distance right, you want to have these longer. So use your gap as a gauge, and that's about as long as our hackle is going to be. And I like mine to be sticking out a little bit farther than my hackle, so we'll gauge it right about there. Okay. I'm glad you guys are having a good day there. Get all the good days in you can. Alright, so I got that lined up, and I'm just gonna pull it down and pin it in place. And then get a wrap in. Two to three securing wraps. Don't twist on me, come on now. Should have held it in place. I'm not sure why it wanted to twist. Okay, we'll do a few more wraps now. There we go. Alright, so we got them nice facing forward. There's two different ways you can go about this. You can either stand them up now, or you can stand them up later before you tie your hackling. I generally prefer to stand them up later because they're a little more out of the way when they're facing forward like that when you're wrapping your body. If you have them standing up and you know you're hitting them every time you're wrapping around, it doesn't take a whole lot to fray them all up and make them look ugly. So, I think almost anything would catch a bluegill, I would think, but like anything with like a color contrast, as far as I know, works really well for bluegill. So I think like the red, the green, the orange, the white, I think all that would work. I haven't heard of anyone using these for bluegill, but I really don't see why they wouldn't work fabulous for them. It has a lot of the same characteristics as a lot of bluegill, you know, spinning lures and stuff you'd use, right? Well, this is your traditional drive a book trout crazy lure, and it does. Okay, so I'm just cutting that off on a little bit of an angle to give me a step here. I'm being careful not to move them too much, and I'm not even going to adjust them because we can do all that when we get to the end. The more you play with them, the more problems you're going to have. Yeah, unfortunately Oh, good luck, Robert. Hopefully you have some luck out there. Do you have like do you hunt stand, or do you just walk around and see what you can find? Or a combination of thereof. This one's gonna go. This is gonna go in Robert's box. Hopefully this one turns out half decent. All right, let's grab two peacock prawns. Okay. It's probably better on the back. Right? Alright, so we're going to line those up. These ones look pretty good. Now I'm just going to bring my thumbnail across and find that brittle point. There we go, broke off together. And we'll cut back a little bit from there, just to tidy it up. And I'm just going to tie that in right up to our lump there. You can see how tying those wings in, it's a little easier to get the wings in doing it this method. But now I gotta avoid those, which isn't, you know, the end of the world or necessarily hard to do. Yeah, diseases have been bad the last, what, good decade or so, I guess. I have a good feeling. It's my birthday today. That'll bring you some hunting luck. Not only are you going to get one, but he's going to be big and bulky and fat. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got a good feeling, Robert. I think you're going to have some luck today. More luck than I'm having with this peacock's not wanting to do what I want to do. Behave. I'll make a nice fluffy butt and you're just spreading all over the place. Like most things, you put in the work and you go out there and it'll happen. Alright. Doing a few more wraps back here than I normally would, just to try and build that up a little bit. I do like my back lump to be just slightly bigger than my front. You got the wings and the hackle and everything else going on there. Okay, there we go. And yeah, I think I'll just continue over here. We'll get that tied in. And then we'll get the I do, but like as far as I'm concerned with that kind of thing, like I'm perfectly happy with YouTube taking their cut with it. Like it's not something I feel bad about. So feel free if you want to do a super chat, go right ahead. I just consider it as like, you know, me paying my way for their service, right? They're hosting all the videos, they're giving us all this community, and it's just a way for all of us to pay it back a little bit, you know. So I know some people have, you know, jump over to Patreon or different services so they can get a bigger cut of it, but I kind of look at it a little differently. I look at it as like they're providing us all this service in this community, and it's like, yeah, why, you know, we should give them a cut. I really don't have a problem with it. Yeah, I don't feel obligated to tip or anything like that. I'm here for the fun. Yeah, I definitely don't mind YouTube taking their cut. A lot of people are a little more cranky on that thing, but as far as I'm concerned, they've put the work in to give us what, you know, we all enjoy this community, right? We enjoy the service. I get free video web hosting for my whole life, for as long as YouTube's around. I get to teach people stuff. I get to hang out and meet cool people. I think that's worth giving them a little tip over, you know? That's just the way I look at it anyway. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. And like I said, I have a really good feeling you're gonna have some good luck on your hunt today. I really do appreciate it, man. I know we all work hard for what money we can bring home to our family, and if you're gonna share some of that with me to help out my family, I am thoroughly honored to have that. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. And now that you're taking up fly tying, you have one more thing that you can use from your deer that you harvest. So you can use up more of the animal. Yeah, I got the red tag section tied in there. We'll get the rest of that peacock in. I saw a stray fiber, but now I don't see it. Okay. Yeah, I always think if you're going to harvest an animal, you should use as much of it as you can. For sure. Okay, so this one, like I said, we're doing this one a little different. Yeah, that's going to look nice. That's nice and poofy. Oh, come on now. As I say that, you start separating. Yeah, sinew is useful for all sorts of stuff. It was like gold for people back before we had good cordage and stuff, right? Sinew is super useful. And I'm happy to share and help you out. That's exactly what I'm here for. And hopefully I can do it in a nice, relaxing, chill way, and everyone can enjoy themselves here. That's what I'm shooting for. And fly tying is one of those things that you're never done with. You can do it your whole life, and you're always learning stuff. Okay, so got that in there. Now I like to tie my hackle in before I move the wing up. One of these had some damage. Is it this one? Yeah, you look like you had damage. So we're going to separate it. Again, it's a preening mark there. We're going to separate it right at that damaged spot. Yeah, and like, if you have a local, well, even the butchers and all that too, like the ones that'll prep your meat or hang it or cool it for you and all that. If you have any local ones, a lot of times they'll have extra skins and sinew and all that stuff. They're just going to throw it out, right? Or it's too inconvenient for them to bother trying to sell it or prep it or whatever. So yeah, if you got anyone local that you can talk to, do it. You might end up with a bag full of supplies that were just going to go to waste. Even if it's not your animal, you're saving. You're saving, you know, product from an animal going to waste, right? Which is always a good thing. So I'm just going to remove about 2 or 3 fronds from either side like that, just to bear off a little bit of stem. And I cut this end off. I'm going to save that. I use these for like my nymph legs or different things. They go into my scrap box because the wispy stuff is good for certain fly patterns. So now that I got the little tip sticking out there, we're going to cut off, again, another 3 or 4 fronds on either side. Yeah, a lot of times they're more than happy to, because they have to basically pay someone if they're not doing it themselves to get rid of it, right? So if you're willing to grab, you know, as long as you make it convenient for them, you show up with like Rubbermaid containers or some bags or whatever you got, and you don't make it a pain in their butt, they'll probably be more than happy to give you supplies. Because in a lot of cities, it's you know, classed as awful, and it has to be disposed of in a certain way, and that costs money and time. Alright, so we got our end prepped. You can see there's a little bit sticking out. You don't need much, just a couple fronds. That'll act as a bit of a catch and stop it from pulling out. Or at least help it anyway. And then what we're going to do on this one is on the, so you're wrapping this way, so on the upside, so on this side, we're going to remove about 4 or 5 fronds. Actually, on the downside? Down, sorry, on the downside. We're going to move 4 or 5 fronds. Now you can see that one side's thinner than the other. And that'll give us about half a wrap before we start shooting fronds out. Yeah, exactly, just like a Velcro loop hook. I mean, there's other techniques you can do, but why bother when nature already gave you what you need right there? Just use what you got. Alright, I'm going to spin the fly so you guys can see here. We got the rake is sticking out right by the wing. Hopefully you can see it. It's kind of hard, but you can see it on the angle. Sticking out right here. So when I lift this wing up, that's going to stick down, and I'm going to end up tying this in right at that point here. Not going to do that yet. I'm going to wait until I'm ready. I'll bind that in. So right now it's just going to be bound in here. But I'm going to catch that and bring it around when I'm standing up the wings. Okay, good deal. Sometimes what I'm looking at on the camera isn't necessarily what you guys are seeing, but I'm trying to get my system down so it's fairly accurate. Alright, so now the slightly harder part is standing these guys up without damaging them. And you want to kind of just pull it back. Okay, I'm going to take a chance on half wrapping that so I can show you. Gotta keep tension on it so I'm not going to lose everything. My overhead light's a little bit on the bright side. I should adjust my exposure. You can probably see that sticking out there. I got like 2 or 3 thread wraps on it right here. Holding that in. And that'll help to give it an even base, because when you're wrapping your hackle, you want to have it as flat as you can across the whole area that you're wrapping. Right now it's like this, because I got a bunch up here and I got basically nothing in front of those wings. So now I got to pull the wings up, and I got to add thread on that side so I can level it out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer you are to level across, the nicer that your fronds are going to stick up straight up and down instead of going this way and going that way. A lot of people, when they start doing hackles, you know, it gets really frustrating for them because their hackles are just sticking all over and they can't make it stand up and look nice like the Instagram photos. And there's other things that'll go wrong, but that's probably the most common. I'm just going to keep adding thread here until these guys stick up right where I want them. take a good number of wraps because I'm using 8/0 here and it doesn't build up quickly. There we go. See, now those are standing nice and straight and proper, right? And normally you get about the right amount of thread right around that point where they're standing up to give your hackle a nice finish. Okay, and we want to leave our thread at the ending point, which should be about a bodkin. You want to leave yourself at least a bodkin before your eye, so you got room for the head there and to tie off your hackle. But yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks good. Those are nice little wings, and they're still nice and like perfectly on top. A lot of times, if you're tying them in like that too, if your thumb pressure is harder than your pointer finger, you're putting too much pressure on one side or the other. As you're tying it in to do that front wrap, it'll kink them over, and you'll end up with lopsided wings. Takes a little practice, that's all. 1 second, there's a couple fibers here I gotta get rid of. Now whenever I start wrapping the hackle, that's just habit, there's no fast rule about it, but I always throw a 1/2 hitch in before I do hackle wrapping, or 2 anyway. 1 is none, 2 is 1. Don't need to go crazy with it, 2 is perfectly fine. Okay. Where did I put my hackle pliers? Oh, they're there. So on this one, I think I might move over to my rotary hackle here. A rotary hackle plier. Alright, so we got one. Normally I don't bother taking these out until afterwards, but we got one stray fiber. You can see it coming out the back here. I'm just going to remove him. But you can see here I can take this now. I can wrap it all the way down to here. And I'll move my vise 1 second. Let's get that held down. So now I can wrap it all the way down to here, and there's no hackle sticking out, right? So that'll give me that whole area to start the wrap and to align everything. Before I start getting any hackle sticking out, and that'll help you a lot in not having crazy hackle. Yeah, I always seem to hackle's always the most entertaining part of the stream, right? Always seems to be that way. All the crazy plans of mice and men, right? Now, all that being said, and now, for whatever reason, my hackle wants to twist on me the other direction, so I'm actually going to add a little twist on it, just for this first wrap or two, to get it to straighten back out. And it should after about 1 or 2 wraps, then we can fix it. Okay, so we want to get 3 wraps behind. The traditional wrap amounts for this fly was 2 behind and 3 up front, but I prefer to do 3 and 3. Yeah, so I try and give people tips for it. Most of the time I overthink it, to be honest, but I like to do 3 in the back and 2 to 3 in the front. We're at 3 now. If you get at least 3 in the back, it just fills in that little niche. It helps to keep the wings forward. And that'll be the last one. I want to get right against the wing there. we go. Okay, and then for the first wrap, we want to get it right in front of the wing, so we'll have to actually pin the wing back here. Just to help that racus sit right at the base of the wing. And that'll also help to hold it up. Beauty. Alright, that worked out well. Yeah, there's two. I'll go for a third. And we're good. I go for just a half here because I'm going to tie it off. Your tie-off wrap basically doesn't count because you're only getting about a quarter of the hackle you normally would. Thank you. Now you can try and fuss, like right now I got the hackle tied off. It's caught. You can fuss with all these and try and pin them back, or you can just leave them and deal with them after. I always try to have as few as possible, but you're generally going to get one or two that are just being super annoying, like these two. So you can just sweep them out of the way. Let's see if I can get them out of the way. There we go. Once you get a couple wraps in, oh, that one is just being a toot. I need to get one more wrap in here before I get my half hitch on. There we go. Alright. You want to get at least a good 2 to 3 wraps because it's not just the pressure that you're holding with your bobbin, but when you release the pressure on your bobbin, the pressure will release on your first wrap or two. So you need to have at least 2 or 3 good wraps, or that catch that you have on your hackle will loosen. It won't let go, it'll loosen enough, which can cause it to jump back on you if you cut your hackle off. So once we got those couple in there with tension on, we can take our half hitch, push that annoying hackle back, throw 2 half hitches there, and see how it just pushed all that hackle back? It's nice and clean now. So you don't bother cutting your hackle off or doing all that till you get your half hitches in, because that will do a lot of the work for you. We still got to get our whip finishes on there, but now that those half hitches are in there, it's pinned back most of those annoying fibers, and we can free our hackle that's getting all tangled up in our thread. So to free our hackle, what we're going to do is just open the scissors just a wee bit, just a little bit, so you get a little V notch. You can also use a like a cuticle cutter. A lot of people do that, and you're just going to get the racus in there and then just pull down. You're not gonna, by doing it this way, you're not cutting, so you're not gonna cut any of your extra fibers. And you'll have a nice clean hackle part coming out. You can save these two for smaller flies or nymph legs or all sorts of different stuff. You don't need to toss them. I generally save them. I have to admit, that's a pretty fly. I'm happy with him. Look at that. I don't think that could have turned out a whole lot better. There's not much I would have really changed on that. Now let's hope I don't it doesn't implode on me as I'm getting the half hitches. Yeah, I'm really happy with that one. The butt size and the thorax are exactly the way I like it. I like the butt to be a little bigger than the thorax, and the center there is nice. It's not lumpy. Hackles in a nice consistency. The only thing I would have liked probably on this one was just 2 or 3 more tail fronds. Would have been nice. But unfortunately that feather had some damage, and that's all I got out of it. Alright. Let's see if we can do this without causing any trouble. As I'm saying that, there's one frond here. It's not even attached. Okay. Let's pin you back a little bit. There we go. Alright. Let's get this finished. I don't even really have much of a head. Oh my god, buddy. Just stay where you are. I don't really even have much of a head on this. The dry fly style ones like this, I like to keep the head as minuscule as possible. I think I got like a whiff of cat hair stuck in there too. There we go. Well, broke my thread at the end, but I got the knot in there, so it's all good. Make sure I don't have any whiffs of thread. No, okay. Cool. Okay, well, that's gonna go into Robert's box. Got one little thing of red fiber there. There we go. You do want to try and cut them off and not pull them if you have any issues with your floss. If you pull on the floss, if there's anything, you'll typically end up with a bigger problem. Oh, I know. Tell me about it. She's such a cool cat, and I love her, but oh. And she has like this light, floofy hair. It just gets everywhere. It's not like the type of hair you get on your shirt, like shedding hair. It's almost like it's just dander. Super floofy. There we go. Yeah, happy with that one. Good deal. Alright. Let's spin that for a minute just to dry that up. There we go. That'll be in your box, Robert. Or for the cat, who knows? She seems to go in and out of it whenever she feels like. Yeah, I'm super happy with that one. Did get a very slight wing split where that preening mark was, like I was telling you guys about. See, just at the top. Yeah, hopefully you can pick that one out of your box. But yeah, I'm really happy. I like the way the wings are sitting. They're nice and right on top there. Everything's symmetrical and yeah, just beauty. If I could do that 10 times, I'll be happy. I'm gonna grab some breakfast though. I'll be back on later, and hopefully you have luck out at your stand, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks for everything. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good morning. Enjoy the rest of my birthday.